we have now reached the most awaited moment of the day, the highly anticipated annual report launch, where we will unveil the culmination of months of research, analysis, and dedicated efforts from our team. Brace yourselves to witness the launch of MMA India's marquee annual marketing ecosystem report, that's Modern Marketing Reckoner, with the 2023 theme being Transform to Thrive. A ready reckoner comprising an industry-neutral 360-degree POV for marketeers to not just evolve, but transform using increased agility, investment in meaningful technology, more collaboration and partnerships, a rapid test, learn, apply frameworks, and a diversely skilled workforce. This is an MMA and Group M initiative. And without any further ado, I request Amit Jain, MMA India Board Chairman, L'Oreal India, Partha Sarthi Ma, MA, Chief Strategy Officer, South Asia Group M, and Monica Khurana, Country Head and Board Member, MMA Global India, to kindly take the stage to unveil this marquee report. Let's please welcome our dignitaries with a huge round of applause, everyone. It is now time to unveil the report. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for this most awaited moment of the day. Let's give a thunderous round of applause for this launch, everyone. Come on. And can we now have the copies of the report? And yes, as MMA Chair, may I request Amit to kindly say a few words about the report?
Yeah, so on behalf of MMA and of course our very valuable partners from Group M, I'm delighted to launch the 4th edition of this report. Yeah, the Modern Marketing Reckoner, as it's popularly called as the MMR, we believe is a must-read for every marketer who is looking to transform and thrive in this unprecedented change. We had Dr. Praful scaring the hell out of us this morning. So hopefully, Transform to Thrive, which is the theme of this report, which has been jointly scripted. It's a complete collaboration with the ecosystem, which is led, of course, by MMA and Group M. I think it's a fantastic example of the industry coming together in the face of fantastic challenges and opportunities. So yeah, this is all about increased agility, investment in meaningful technology, collaboration, partnerships. And what is critical in this report is that there are 30 industry leaders and thinkers who have collaborated across the ecosystem to bring forward very pragmatic ways to transform your organizations to keep pace with what's happening there in the environment. So this is a great testimony to what MMA does so well, which is bring a really diverse ecosystem together for creating solutions for all the marketeers and the stakeholders over there. So congratulations once again and good luck.
Thank you so much, Amit. I request Partha Sarthi to kindly say a few words. Let's do the picture first. Very important, of course. Congratulations, team. And requesting Partha Sarthi to kindly address the audience.
Hi, I think it's always been an honor to work with MMA in this annual report. It's a tradition which we've been doing for some time now, and this time the contributions have been fantastic, and it's all on a very pointed theme of Transform to Thrive, and I hope you'll all find it very useful. I'd also like to thank the extended team that's put this together. First of all the contributors who have really thought deeply about the topic and given us some fantastic content. and also, the people who pulled it together from MMA, Tanya, and from Group M, we have Upali and Prerna who really held it all together. So a big thanks to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, Monica, requesting you to say a few words about the report.
So I think Partha and Amit have pretty much said it. However, we have a lot more to share with you about this report, which we will do over a panel discussion, which we will just begin, which will also have our contributors who've been very deeply engaged. So I'm sure it's going to be a very enriching piece. Having said that, what's important is this is a collaborative piece which brings together views from experts from across the ecosystem. You must grab a copy of it and you must consume it, because we are in an era where transformation is the only way forward. So it's really a narrative we deeply believe is a narrative we'd like to own for the year, and we look forward to getting your feedback on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Monica. And like Monica said, I request you all to kindly scan the QR code on the screen to get the full access for the report. Requesting Monica and Partha to kindly stay back on the stage. And thank you so much, Amit, for doing the honors. Thank you so very much. So it is now time for all of us to decode this report and understand from our contributors their POVs, which are an integral part of the MMR. Please join me in welcoming our panelists for this segment. We have with us Arvind Mathur, Product and Business Unit Head, M-Filterit. MVS Murthy, CMO of Federal Bank. Sunita Bangad, MMA India Board Member, Group Head, Consumer Insights and Brand Development, Aditya Birla Group. Vidya Kailasam, India Consumer Digital Lead, Mondelez. We have Monica on the stage, and of course, our moderator for this segment will be Partha. Let's have a group picture. Yes. Over to you, Partha.
Hello. Am I audible? Yeah, I guess so. Welcome once again. And I think, the theme, as was mentioned, is transform to thrive, and probably more relevant now than ever before, because there's transformation happening across sectors, across industries, across functions within the organization. And it's also led by the extreme volatility which we have seen, right? And great to have a diverse set of panelists here from very diverse industries and functions who are all either driving transformation in their organization or who are partnering with clients to drive that. So it's lovely to have you all here. This report, as Monica had mentioned earlier, is, it starts off by talking about some of the drivers of uncertainty. Now, there's always a flip side to that, because with uncertainty comes disruption, with disruption comes opportunity. So the way I would like to talk about, start this, is asking each of you, what do you think are these big kind of disruptions that have happened? What are the kind of opportunities they've fostered? And how has that led to the transformation? So maybe I'll start with you, Vidya. And, you come from the confectionery industry, Mondelez, and, it was also showcased. Your case was spoken about by the person who spoke about AI. So what do you think are the biggest kind of disruptions and opportunities when it comes to your industry? Not.
Thanks, first of all, for the opportunity to speak here. And I think you spoke about disruption, and that's been the running theme for the last couple of years, right? So you had a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. You now have a warlike situation, which is creating a lot of chaos all around. I think most of us have experienced a lot of changes, whether it is in the way we consume media, whether it is in the way we consume our products. So in our category, for example, snacking is no longer done just once a day, right? So, our global snacking report, for example, says that people think of snacking as a moment that they want to savor. It's a moment of indulgence for in a day, and they really care about it, which means that it matters to them that the snack is available at all times. It means that in a rapidly digitizing environment, they're okay to buy snacks from, let's say, a quick commerce kind of partner, because it's available at any time. When they think of a snack, they can pick something up, which means that they're going to rapidly, adopt various mediums like that. So, for example, it would be, it's very surprising to know that even in categories like ours, people actually look at search as a medium to look for inspiration as well as ideas for snacks. So you would think that impulse categories, people don't, why would they need to actually search? But that's happening as well. So here you have a situation, there was a rapidly accelerating digitization situation that was prevailing before the COVID pandemic hit. And now that's really taken off. You have the always-on consumer who's looking for content across online and offline, and which means brand marketers like us need to create a seamless experience that seems exactly the same when you're looking at a mobile phone or or a laptop, or you're in the store. And you need solutions which are amenable across retail formats. So the way I would look at it is the disruption has actually created moments that we can participate more, consumption opportunities that we probably didn't think of earlier. So today at 4 o'clock, if a consumer is thinking of a snack, there's also a chocolate snack that he or she is thinking of, along with a samosa, and all of it he's searching for on a mobile phone to see how is the quickest that he can get it. And that's the opportunity for me to advertise and speak to him. So I think all of this has worked in a manner for us to keep innovating and thinking about how do we present a proposition in a manner that's amenable to the format or the media that the person is consuming.
Thanks. I think opening up moments or possibilities for consumption is a big shift, I think, and that's an interesting disruption. MVS, you come from a very different industry, which is the banking and financial sector, right? And that has its own share of disruptions and opportunities over the last couple of years. So would love to hear your point of view.
So I'm just allowing myself to be indulged, saying that I don't want to talk about just banking and financial services, but if you look at disruption, we are at an infinity loop of culture and technology, and both of them are playing out. And let me just give you a context of the amount of disruption, now I'm coming down to banking, that we face. So if you look at India itself, there was a pre-Geo and a post-Geo era, then you have a pre-UPI and a post-UPI era, and now you have a pre-ONDC and a post-ONDC era. And all of it is being powered by technology. And what is happening is that because technology is allowing products to be delivered. So for example, Anarkali can be bought in Chennai as well. It's a garment that women wear because of the prevalence of the technology. As much as an Alfonso can be sold by a villager who's living perhaps in Pali thanks to ONDC. So therefore, this is the spectrum in which we are going out and operating. And the challenge for us in the BFSI sector particularly is how do we learn from a lot of the e-commerce guys, because money is what we sort of eventually go out and manage. And how do we create an experience, because we are not going to be compared by another bank. We're going to be compared by an experience that you have perhaps on an online delivery system, or an experience that you've had on an airline app. So that is the level of comparison. So clearly it is pushing us to raise the bar in terms of the kind of customer experience we want to give. The other part that I also am deeply conscious about in my role is that suddenly we are seeing on the horizon that there might be a time, and a lot of you are very creative people who will write a book called as The Demise of the Wallet. Because now you're practically carrying your wallet for your driving license, maybe pictures of your loved ones, and Ekad credit card. But with UPI credit coming in, there is no reason for you to carry plastic. So you could as well be without a wallet. And that brings one more challenge to me, because somebody is going to ask, and Amit was talking about it here, saying that what is the purpose of the organization? So one credit card, for example, lasts for about 400 years. So in a consumer's life cycle, if he has 3 recardings which has happened, then you are talking of about 1200 years. So then the marketer is being asked, bhai aap ESG pe kya kar rahe ho? So you see how the loop is so infinite that if you think that technology has stopped somewhere, then you'll be hit by culture. If you think that culture is taking an afternoon siesta, then technology is going to come back. So that's the format in which this entire change is happening, and therefore the need to thrive and transform. Or transform and thrive, whichever you want to put it.
And very interesting also, I didn't look at it from the ESG angle. I think that's a very interesting point. And you are the enabler of a better life, which enables a consumption of all the other products. So that itself is every disruption there is a disruption for you in that sense. So Sunita, you power consumer insights across a wide variety of industries in the ABG group, right? So just to flip the switch and look at it from the consumer lens. So what do you think are, he's touched upon some of the disruptions, but how do you see it happening? I mean, what are the changes in behavior, attitude, perceptions?
So I'm just going to pick up the leaf on ESG, and we've just done a massive study across a whole spectrum of products and industries. While people awareness of ESG, intent of wanting to use ESG is very, very high as 99%. Actually, people who are doing something about it is less than 20%. Yes. So there's a huge leakage, if I may, between what people say versus what they're doing, and I guess they don't want to pay a single rupee extra for doing that. So they pass it on to organizations, governments to actually do the job, because they've messed up, they need to clean up, and not them. So, there are those kind of funny things. But at a very broader level, while we all know about stats of demographics, etc., 2 key areas that we've done a lot of work is really in the whole small town upsurge and development. And post-COVID, I think even more important, because all our businesses want to go beyond the metros and large towns. And we see that reverse migration has actually taken place in a big way. And we did this study which kind of said that apart from, of course, the population going back, and it's going to be a fairly large growth of youth in that sector, there's a lot of development that's happening there, and therefore the whole consumption pattern, digital enablers that help people to kind of get there because of convenience, they're not now the lesser cousin to the urban world. They get what they want, where they want, the brands that they want, and convenience is something they look for as well. So, that demographic is becoming very, very interesting, and knowing that audience, understanding them better, and having the first mover advantage for our industries is going to be huge. Apart from the B2C, we also are in a whole range of B2B, and I must say that this whole concept of B2B, B2C is now almost kind of blurring, because there is more like B2H that I keep hearing of, because there is a C at the end of every B2B as well. So the same principles of B2C apply to B2B, and all the things that were spoken in the morning by Amit and on the AI, which is also very interesting, is there's omni-channel, people are not really linear in the way they go, so online, offline, digital is here to stay. And I think post-COVID, while there has been some amount of reverse, back to brick and mortar stores, I think a lot of behavior change has happened on that front. So I think, and more so in, like I said, the small towns, digital is very much going to be the key enabler for us to, succeed in that sense. So lots of these things across our industries we're looking at, and even women, another very, very important cohort that is now changing the dynamics, and things like home development. I mean, people were thinking decor is what you target women, but even cement now is targeting women, because they are playing an important role in deciding how to construct houses, for example. in the BFSI sector, because they've got onto the digital medium, they find it far more easier. Of course, we need enablers to kind of educate them a bit more, but you see that audience also playing a very important role. So we've kind of looked at them as not just women, but consumers and promoters for some of our products, fashion and investment actually particularly. So these are some of the changes that I see coming around. And lots of exciting stuff. I mean, I agree with Vidya and with Urti, that I think in this wake of disruption, which has now become the norm, the opportunities are, becoming a galore, and the marketers that actually take these up and take the first mover advantage actually succeed. So that's what I would want to say.
Interesting. I mean, it's very hard to pull the wool over anyone's eyes anymore. I think there's such universal kind of access to information and knowledge that it puts all of us on our toes every day. So Arvind, you are product head of a technology platform, right? And you work with clients across categories and industries. So what are the kind of disruptions which you're helping them deal with, and how do you look at it from the other side of the fence? You have to switch it on. I think you have to. Otherwise you could use this. It's on.
Right. I think the changes that we've seen over the period of time, especially couple of large topics got talked about this morning. So we've seen AI, we've seen the way brands have started embracing and looking at these formats. A lot of change happened pre and post COVID, where even small businesses felt it's important to be on the online space, right? And with small businesses and small partners coming online, there was also an inherent challenge of regulations or the regulatory framework that brands had to have to manage these channel partners, or to look at these third parties which are critical business partners offline, but now what happens when they take a brand's repute online, right? So with that and AI coming in place, already about 2/3 of the world's digital traffic was driven by bots and softwares, right? This just adds to the challenge, which means you typically will have human traffic going to about 1/5 of the global traffic in about 2 or 3 years' time now. And with AI coming in place, generative AI taking over, more and more brand communications, more and more engagements that brands drive through, omni-channel shops, most of these will have layers of digital and consumer journey that are intertwined, right? So I think these become pediments for opportunities also, wherein you will have multiple ways of how you can enter a customer segment or a customer journey in and out of their different cohorts. At the same time, there'll be a challenge as to which of these journeys are really legit or made by customers. Or are they actually faked by bots, softwares, or bad actors in the society, right? So I think that's where I see challenges increasing for the brands. And they will have to be active frameworks that it's time that brands start putting in place to deal with these scenarios, in terms of having a framework on regulations for brand safety, framework and regulation for an ad fraud mechanism, which will become, I think, critical going forward for all brands.
Absolutely true. Absolutely.
I just want to add to what he's saying. I mean, I think Amit was speaking about reviews and how people decide basis reviews, whether it's an Airbnb or a product on Amazon. With this whole bot thing, you really never know that are you genuinely following reviewers, or is it that somebody's used a bot and just got them. So there's always that doubt of, and therefore authenticity, I guess, is becoming very critical.
Yeah. So I think I'll just probably add one cent to it. See, almost 5 out of 8 customers think that the legitimate content that they're following, it's the brand's responsibility to actually own it up, right? And not leave it to the open web to discover. So I think as long as brands have a control mechanism in place, whether it's a technology play that they intervene, whether it's a overlay of internal systems that talk to each other, this challenge is something that brands will solve as we move forward. Yeah.
So Monica, this report which we've just unveiled, right? At the core of it is a very, very interesting survey which was conducted among very senior marketers from across variety of industries,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So what struck you as some of the really sharp insights which came out of this report which might be useful?
Absolutely. So I think we did think through the narrative a fair bit, and we did crowdsource a lot of the gaps before we chose to arrive at the theme Transform to Thrive, right? And whilst we were observing a lot of dynamic changes in the environment, and we also, were cognizant to the fact that in the last 2 or 3 quarters, there were a couple of macro factors playing out, along with, of course, an extended phase of COVID. So when we checked in with with our respondents, there were 3 factors which they believe have really contributed to them, contributed to their thinking and to their need to catalyze transformation as a, as a KPI, right? And which primarily was macro factors like COVID, like inflation, like the Ukraine war, and there were about 61% who said that that's one key factor which they weren't ready for, and it happened, and they were forced to change. The second was technology disruption. We've been hearing about it all morning. And there were about 51% of them who said that technology disruption in various ways, which are self-explanatory, is leading them to think very transformative ways of driving business. And the third was the consumer mindset shift itself, because of an extended journey of COVID and a lot of new tools and platforms available. There is a distinct shift in consumer mindset, and 46% attributed it to that, right? So these were like the 3 key factors which, kind of came out very, very clearly in terms of dynamic shifts that were happening. And the way it also, the survey also called out 3-4 developments in media and marketing, which were also, adding for them to need to think their media mix way more than what they were thinking. So what were those 4? I'm just going to call out the exact data points. So we had 4 key data points. One, the effective use of first-party data, and 69% said that that's really a very big number to ignore, and therefore it needed rethink in the way they thought media and marketing. 63% said AI, ML, and advanced analytics, which was again a big contributor to them rethinking marketing. 51% said omni-channel, right? And 32% said voice technology. And of course, then there were more beyond that. But these were the 4 factors which led to wanting them to rethink media and marketing quite substantially. And we have a bunch of other questions as well, which are included in the report and can be deep dived into, and which have been a strong base to what we've covered in the report.
Thanks, Monica. I think that's a perfect segue to the next question which I want to ask, because all the people on this dais are people who have actually contributed in this report. So I thought it'll be great to get a snippet from all of you, on what you have contributed. So one of the aspects which Monica spoke about was the first-party data piece, Vidya. And, Mondelez, as we know, has been on a complete data and digital transformation journey for some time now, and it's bearing great results. So I wanted to hear from you on what exactly, how has that transformed people within the organization? What are some of the key initiatives and learnings you have?
I think the context for that is exactly what my co-panelists here spoke about, that the use of data, the relevance of data was increasingly becoming important. And we operate in a category where, historically we've done mass marketing, so to speak, while digital offers a great opportunity to do personalization. In fact, the example that you had here since morning, which is not just a Cadbury ad, we used data from our partner publisher, publishers like Google, etc., to be able to sort of pinpoint the retailer and create a customized ad. But the big reality is that, even for organizations like us, there is gold dust in terms of getting hold of the first-party data, in terms of consumers, knowing them deeply, way more than what we know them today. However, I think the whole journey didn't start from saying that we want to get data, right? I think the whole point was digital today offers us an opportunity to do great personalization. Personalization in an era of extremely digitally savvy consumers is very important, because all consumers, despite the brand, want to feel like, the brand's talking to me. It's offering me something that's intimate to me. And that's the reason I want to build that bond. So that was the starting point. And therefore we said, okay, so how do we go about being able to market this effectively to consumers in a personalized manner? And therefore, if we need data, why would the consumer give data for categories like ours, right? So we are an impulse category, very low value. Typically, people don't spend considerable amount of time figuring out what they want to buy, etc. Unlike, let's say, automobiles or electronics, etc. So we had to provide substantial amount of value exchange. Now, I can talk of one example. During COVID, like we all know, we all did a lot of cooking at home. We all did a lot of baking, doing a lot of recipes at home, which we probably never did before. And we realized that there was an opportunity for us to create a recipes destination. Primarily because, the tier 2 example that my panelists here spoke about, we realized that brands like Oreo were getting consumed for making cakes, for adding that extra bit of oomph to the recipe that you would have anyway otherwise made. And we had this great opportunity to create a destination for using our brands in an interesting way and getting consumers to come there, which is how we created a dessertscorner.com. And what we realized is that that value exchange was meaningful enough for consumers to want to come and sign up with us. And continue to stay engaged with us. So you had a community of consumers who are looking for more content, who are looking for more engagement from us. And we also get to know what's their preference, etc., which can be then meaningfully used to market to them. But to your second question, how did that translate into changes that we had to make from an organization perspective? Just briefly talking about that. One, it needs a lot of CXO advocacy, right? So at a very high level, top level, we had to have clarity as to why we were embarking on a data strategy and what we needed to get there. So what were our use cases? What is it that we will want to build out of the data that we were collecting? Very different from, let's say, some of the other industries, and therefore had to be razor sharp in terms of what it means for Mondelez. And then, of course, a lot of it is new capability for us. So, we probably needed to test a lot of ideas, dump what's not working and scale what's working. So needed a bit of test and learn, a bit of fail first mindset and not be affected by it, which is very different from the way we do our marquee campaigns. So in some sense, there was some amount of unlearning also that we had to do there. I'll pause here and maybe build on it.
Thanks. I think relearn, rethink is very much in action. MVS, you spoke about technology being the spine, I think, and you mentioned it in the earlier piece you spoke as well. Now, the other point you spoke about is the distribution model is getting phygital, right? Which means how do you kind of deliver a consistent experience to your consumers across whichever place they come in contact with you as a brand? And what are some of the initiatives you have done for that?
So let me just give you a little bit of a background. I'm an extremely proud marketer today because I'm the custodian of a 92-year-old brand. Federal Bank is a 92-year-old bank. Okay, we are not known to be, we are not among the top 3, but I think we will break into the top 5 over the next few quarters. Clearly, the brand is doing a lot of work. And coming to your question about how do we manage this consistency of delivery, and I think our brand line which says, "Rishta aap se hai, sirf aap se nahi." In the midst of all of this hullabaloo on technology, at the end of the day, you cannot take away the human empathy which is required. And people, when they come to handle money, they need people in the branches. And therefore, while I can give them a great amount of efficiency through my mobile application, through my internet banking website, through a chatbot that we have, they still want to come and meet. And one of the key reasons of consistency of delivery is that we have an attrition rate of 2 to 3%. When you are in the service industry, for example, the place where we are sitting, or an airline, or a bank in our case, you need to have people who have been with the system for a long time so that the consistency of the delivery come. If you have a lot of people coming in and going out, then it's very difficult. Just to give you a comparative measure, one of the largest private sector banks has got a 32% attrition rate. So imagine what is going to happen to you in terms of delivery. The other part which ensures that there is a consistency of delivery is that it's a great place to work, because we have 42% women in our bank and nobody is taking an effort. All right. Now, to give you another statistic on consistency is that 21% of the remittances which come to India, which is about $100 billion, comes from Federal Bank. So what I'm trying to say is that people need the efficiency of technology, but to ensure consistency of delivery, they need people. And you need a set of proud folks in the team who will go out and go the distance and help people to go on, and hence a brand. And we keep saying that we are human at the core and digital to the fore. So you need to keep living this all the while.
Love the tagline, by the way. So Arvind, you talk about two things in your piece, right? One is ad fraud, which I think everyone knows can really hamper efficiency. The other is, the entire brand safety piece, which plays such a huge role in reputation. So I just wanted to check with you, do you think marketers are taking these things seriously enough? And what do you think they should really do to make it best practice?
Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So I think it's a great question. I think about 5 years back, when we were having discussions with customers, the realization that there's something called as ad fraud was not there, right? Now, if I walk over those files and I look at this back today, I think most marketers, brands are aware about these challenges, about ad fraud and brand safety. In fact, very recently, for the last about a year and a half, I think even the agency ecosystem has been hit badly, because you will have SMSs that keep cropping up where they will ask you to join a incent-based model where you click on ads and you get paid. So essentially, this is human-generated fraud. There are again frauds which are non-human generated. So typically, I think brands have started taking cognizance of this fact. And the reason why this has come to the center stage is because the amount of drainage or the wastage that was happening was significant. So, and this may actually happen at each stage of the funnel. So you may be buying on impressions, you may be buying on clicks, you may be buying on leads. You could be in fact also paying certain partners on a sale model. But attributions, the journey on attributions, attribution hijacks, these are use cases that are now becoming more and more important for brands as they start looking down the funnel. Brand safety, again, as I said, is something that's got the brand's attention. Why? Because customers started speaking about it. And they would go and talk about it on various social platforms, and hence it becomes important that as a brand, if they want to protect their reputation, they might start educating the customer about what could go wrong. And I think banks have taken the leadership stance there, right? There are a couple of campaigns that banks have taken. There are campaigns that the governments have taken internationally, like Netherlands or New Zealand, where they're talking about what you post online, what you don't post online, what kind of content you should click on, how do you ensure privacy, how do you ensure, how brands should ensure that they should not be seen in the wrong placements. So, and the challenge there being that brands, while there's intent, they need help with all of this, right? Because they've been engaged in their own businesses. They're not specialized in managing this chaos. So that's where they need partners, they need support in the ecosystem. And the large fact here is that even if you look at large publishers and platforms, so while platforms take the ownership of trying and mitigating this risk, but whenever they work with the network or whenever they aggregate the inventory for themselves, like for example, Google, apart from search and mail, they actually end up aggregating most of the inventory. Even, for example, YouTube is owned by the channel is owned by somebody else. It's not owned by YouTube, right? So whenever you deal with network and people of aggregated networks, that's where safety becomes difficult to manage. And this is where I think brands have started realizing that they need to step in.
Yep. Well, thanks for that perspective. I think time flies when you're among friends, and that's happened here. But two very quick questions, Sunita. I mean, we spoke about digital, data, technology transformation, but finally, the other most important part of transformation is culture, right? And you come from such a large conglomerate where, culture is ancient in that sense. So what are your thoughts on cultural transformation within companies?
So I think, in the native digitally born organizations, it's easier because that's how they've been doing business. But when you look at something like Aditya Birla Group, and 60% of our businesses are B2B, and we are a 100-year-old organization, it's not that everybody is at the same level. And disruptions such as COVID or business, whether it is the war, whether it is government regulations or certain policies, we're constantly faced with managing business today and looking to what we need to do for tomorrow. And I think more than the processes that we kind of change, it is the mindsets and the behaviors that you have to manage, because ultimately you can have a great process, but if the people are not willing to take that up, there's not much change that's going to happen. So, internally we have this discussion that there's a lot of conversation around the VUCA world, but I think today if we have to manage all of this, you need to be more in the finer space, as I put it, and finer as in the organizations need to be flexible. They need to be intuitive, non-linear. I think we've spoken a lot about this path to purchase is not a linear way anymore. So it's really non-linear. Exciting or excitable, as an organization or even a brand, because if you're not, people won't even bother visiting you or buying from you. And most importantly, I think resilient, because it's not about doing it right once. You may not learn, you may not be able to get the result, but you need to be at it and continuously keep evolving. So I think internally, that's what we are trying to move people to. Some of our organizations, which are more B2C, have adopted, adapted, and moved forward. Some of them are still sort of learning the ropes and getting there. But I think the big thing that we are trying to move within the organization is customer centricity is at the bedrock of everything that we do. So, it's about customer journeys, and therefore looking at, I think one of our earlier speakers also said that organization structures are not what they used to be. I think, and in some of our cases, it is very, very archaic, if I was to put that. So this whole thing of cross-functional teams coming together, looking at the customer journey and not saying that's my job or your job, digital not being just a marketing thing, but it could be between supply chain and finance, it could be between HR and marketing in that sense. I mean, if I don't get the right kind of profile of people, I'm not going to be able to change the way we work. So really working in more of a collaborative spirit, looking at what technology can do, looking where the human intervention needs to come in. Better storytelling, I think, is important, because I think Amit spoke about it. You will probably not look at something for more than 3 seconds, but then you may want to look in for 5 hours that you're putting onto a long format. So it is a combination of really having your eye to the goal and ear to the ground. Consumers are evolving, disruptions are happening, you have an endpoint to go to, but how do you constantly look at it and have that agility between your people to understand when to change, how fast to change, and how much to change. So literally, if you were to put a playbook there, it's really about customer intimacy, data-led marketing, because you need to know the whys, not just the numbers, but why those numbers to be able to do something about it, have clarity of thought and purpose, and at the end of the day, be resilient and do things keeping the consumer at the heart of everything that we do. So I think those are some of the cultural shifts that we are trying to make. Some places we've been successful, some places we are struggling, but I think it's a journey, and that's where we are getting to.
Thank you so much.
Partha, can I just, add just three points I wanted to bring in, You wanted to say something, Monica? So here is the thing, okay, and as a marketing fraternity, I want to bring in 3 points. One is that let us look at the context in which we are operating. We are at an India moment. A nation is a sigma of its brands. Anybody wanting to invest in a country is looking at all the brands which are highly visible and how do they go out and function and what are the kind of consumer insights that they can bring in and what is their opportunity to invest. That's point number one. Point number two, which he also mentioned, and I think we need to realize, and Amit is here, he's representative of what I'm going to say this now, that Amit Jain, Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, Shankar Narayan, Indira Nui, all of them, SNA ke Indians ko suddenly we have a halo around us. It is because India is a very large market. Globally, people are looking at Indian people. And how do you go out and enter a market? You put a person who's from that market to the top because he runs the culture. And culture eats strategy for breakfast. We know about that. So that's the second thing which is happening. So India movement, culture, and the other part is, and which is what we spoke also about ESG, it is getting very, very important. Because when you look at it from a shareholder perspective, when you look at it from the market's perspective, when you look at it from the activism, I may not be a consumer of your product, but I may be a very vocal voice about, ethical manufacturing, or I may be a vocal voice about reducing my carbon footprint. And I can be the one who can cause a fall of your brand. And therefore, now I am feeling this, and I would not have said this 10 years back, that the CEO and the CMO are working in much closer coordination because the variables are far too many. The sales guy will anyway go out and do what he has to go and do. But the only thing, and pardon me if I'm extending my brief, Amit, but I think the only thing the CEO is looking at is how is his company being observed by a lot of people from a governance perspective. And you can't be a percentage pregnant, either you're pregnant or you're not pregnant. So that is where the CMO has a very critical role in this moment in time. Maybe 5 years back it was a different kind of a thing, but let us recognize that here is a nation who's really going to take off now, and the CMO has got a very critical role to play in this. I'm saying CMO is equal to marketeers.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Any last words from you, Monica? I know we are running out of time, or we ran out long back. That's true. Not my fault, as you say.
Okay. Yeah, very quickly, two things. One is, I think this report attempts to help you, when we say transform to thrive, what we really mean is to become more full stack in nature. We heard a bunch of things in terms of how various factors are now front and central, be it customer experience, be it personalization, be it your tech stacks, be it managing data. So basically, we really are looking for full stack marketers today. And this particular report is alluding to helping that journey of marketers who can be more empowered, have a bigger voice in the room, and work more closely and collaboratively in the organization unlike earlier. So I think that's the whole context of doing a transform to thrive. And I do want to say a big thank you to our contributors out here who've been extremely involved in putting this together, and the other contributors who are in the audience with us and who've done a phenomenal job of sharing their perspectives. Truly appreciate it, and we look forward to doing this each year with your help. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we have quick two questions, if you all don't mind,
Yeah.
to the panel. We have these questions from Pawan.
Yes.
Pawan from Media Brief, requesting you to kindly answer. Yeah, please go ahead. Can we have a mic? Sir, ask for a mic. He got a coffee.
Thank you ever so much. Sorry, ma'am. No, so wonderful session, and the report is truly amazing. I taken a peek at it, and a deep dive of a quick peek, which is a bit of an oxymoron. But thank you very much, Partha, Monica, of course. And first is an observation, and MVS and everybody else here, is that like Monica said in the morning, during her address, that it's all about MMA Global and MMA Global India trying to help marketers become full stack marketers. And a full stack marketer in my mind is, full stack only till last night, and today he has to or she has to become bigger and evolve because of all the uncertainties. And the 4 pillars that are here, in fact, 3 are the pillars, and the 4th is the need, which will be empowered by these 3 pillars.
Sure.
This report, this is just first an observation and then a simple open question to all of you. You all have spoken about uncertainties, which is what everybody is completely beset by. 2 is uncertainties because of consumers shifting, changing, and also because of the challenges that and the questions that data and the need for strategy throw at you all the time about the inadequacies of measurement, etc. Today, you don't have a traditional or a digital marketer. It's both other. It's a holistic thing. And if I'm a consumer of news, I view the news, I read it, I listen to it, I consume it across different platforms through the day. For instance, so one particular piece of content goes across, whether it's an IPL, it goes across different formats, including scores on Cricinfo, etc., etc. So what I'm trying to say is that these 4 pillars, is the consumer, B is the uncertainties, and C is how data keeps throwing challenges at all of us, and therefore they get into the ready reckoner and the handbook, so to speak. I'm oversimplifying and going against my first opening statement. But how you've picked up these, I want to ask each one of you to just pick up one important aspect of this modern marketing reckoner and just share with us how you think that that one particular aspect is truly going to benefit the marketer. Because today you don't have a special, I mean, every marketer needs to be good at a lot of things and be aware of them. So Partha, would you want to take this question on what you think and how you think that the report is really going to help everybody? She did summarize it, but give me your perspective on, and all of you, on how, which are the most important aspects or pillars from this report that will help everyone.
That's a very tough one to answer because there's so much in that report. But I think look, at the heart of everything, and Vidya also spoke about it, is test and learn. You know, so I think the whole aspect of measurement, testing, learning, recorrecting, and a lot of the content in the report talks about how, you know, there is a need for a culture of test and learn. And I think that is something which I would think is very important. Everyone's going in that direction, and I think that's my point of view.
Right. And
anyone else?
I think for me, the big one will be this breaking down of silos as we work. I think the traditional way of saying you do this function and you do that function and so on and so forth, I don't think that works, because with this whole complex path to purchase, the way the consumer behaves, I think many functions need to come together. I don't think digital is another channel. I think digital is a way of doing business, and it is an enabler. It is not the be-all and end-all, but using the right kind of technology, getting the right kind of insights, working in a collaborative manner, I think that to me is very, very important for businesses to adapt, to evolve, and to succeed in this ever-changing digital era, and, you know, stay ahead of the curve rather than to do the catch-up game.
right.
I'll just add to that. I think that obviously was my first point. I think what I add to that is a unified lens on how the business really runs. So you've got different channels across an organization. You've got an offline channel. There's an online channel. You may have franchisees who are operating. You may have partner networks that are operating. How does this all come to you as an organization? How do you consume that data to power insights internally, to look at how do you optimize and how do you take business decisions? I think this will be a critical part of the entire journey that brands will have to take. You know, I think, and with that, with the lens of which information is critical, which measurements points are important, that cultural change and that technology change is something I really think is going to be critical.
I think
Right.
for me, what stood out was the theme itself, right? The very fact that we are calling out that transformation is required means that what we've been doing in some sense is archaic. And that could vary across organizations, across teams. And to us as an organization, I think the whole aspect of operating with a flywheel mentality, which means that today I try something, it works, I scale, I sort of recalibrate, and I kind of, you know, it's then it's not a given, it's not like done. So it's not like one activity that you're doing and it's over. But it's a continuous learning process, and that's how you learn to appreciate both incremental as well as disruptive progress in service of the transformation that you want to drive. I think every organization, every team, whether it is sales, marketing, supply chain, finance, will have various things that they would think are critical in terms of transformation, right? And that doesn't need to be digital necessarily. It could be that some teams are far more advanced on digital versus some others, and some others might need some other basic fixing of, let's say, team structure, for example. Right. I think recognition that we are living in a very sort of evolving world, and it's changing very fast, has been the case for a long time, but perhaps the pace of change is higher. And therefore, we all need to transform, hold some things which are close to us dear and as static, but keep changing the other aspects on it on an ongoing basis is, I think, what people should take away from this book. At least our endeavor is to be able to talk about that and build on it.
MVS.
I think the two key takeaways are in two sections. Section one, I would want to say that for every Captain Kirk, there is a Spock and there is a Scott. There is a human and there is a intelligence also which is happening, but the buck stops with Captain Kirk. He has to take the calls in a complex world is one key takeaway. And there is no running away from the fact that, you know, like I interviewed somebody and she said that I look at the dormancy of a card is what she said. I thought it was really like looking at the 17th hair on a fox's tail. And with that, you can't become a full stack marketeer. So it's very important for you to understand. And not to get overawed by AI and stuff like that, because it helps a lot in terms of bringing in efficiency. That's part A that I want to share with you. Part B is that I want to add two more things here, and I'll bring it down to what we all know of also. I think marketeers should also take away that we need to refresh and we need to reinvent. I'm adding two more R's. And two of the brands who are doing it very famously, and when I say this to you, Mr. Bachchan at 81 is refreshing himself every day. He is the most relevant actor in Bollywood, and everybody would want to give their arm and leg to go out and work with Mr. Bachchan. In spite of AI, in spite of all the creativity, and this gentleman is on record, he says, पैसे कमाने के लिए तो शब्द ढूंढने पड़ेंगे ना. Gulzar Saab at 88. He is reinventing himself and his poetry every possible day. So I think as marketeers, we are very, very creative. There is technology available to us, and you need to be out and out and out and out human. You can't be sitting behind your laptops and, with your head inside the mobile phones and expecting that you'll create a great story. It's not happening, boss.
Thank you very much indeed. And the best thing that I took away from this is that it helps break down the silos, because all of these are pillars and you can't just have one expert on one and one on the other. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and Pawan, just one last thing to sign up on what they said is that this particular narrative is just a reminder, or rather a call to action, to the fact that we are a part of a larger community of change agents, and we need to live up to that, and we need to keep driving transformation after being inspired by the number of contributors who have showcased a transformative approach in their journey. Yeah? Thank you so much. Thank you.